All right, it's time for some lunch. So let's get over to the kitchen and say hello to ABC7 Culinary Director Judi Gallagher. Judi?
Well, Father's Day is around the corner. Monday I made Korean-style pork chops. Today it has to be steak. I'm making a chef's cut steak, which is really popular with us. A lot of people may not be used to yet. It's called iron steak, hanger steak. Delicious, but it does need to be marinated. So it's thin like a flank steak, but marinating it for about an hour or so is really gonna bring out the flavors. And for Dad, we're gonna bring together some tailgate seasoning, some really fine quality whiskey, reduce that down a little bit, and we're gonna serve it with some potatoes that are tossed in olive oil with a little red pepper and onions. I think it's gonna be just what Dad wants. Maybe the newspaper and a pool float, and you'll be all set. So stay with me as we celebrate Father's Day this week and bring you flat iron steaks in a whiskey butter marinade. Okay, I have some onions and red peppers that are similar that go into potatoes O'Brien. I'm going to put them right in this pan. Now I've already pre-boiled the potatoes till they're almost done. They're still just slightly crisp. I'm going to just use the same pot that they're in so I don't have to dirty another pan. We're going to toss that with olive oil, a little garlic salt, some regular salt, and some black pepper. And we'll hit it with some fresh snipped chives. And we'll be back in just a few minutes to add the butter, and I'll talk to you about that garlic parmesan. Now let's talk about the hanger steaks. See how similar they are to the flank steak? So you're gonna have to cut it against the grain. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a very simple marinade, some white balsamic vinegar, some whiskey, the favorite part, right? A little brown sugar. Now, I used a little brown sugar the other day as well. Brown sugar is just going to bring in that sweet balance to the dish, and definitely some garlic. So basically what you're going to do is you're just going to give this a little swirl around. This is going to break down that steak, especially over the next half an hour. So let's marinate the steak and then give it on both sides. Then you can put that in a plastic bag and you can marinate that for an hour and let that whiskey really break down. Then we're going to cook it in a pan or the grill. So I want to make sure the pan's on high, which I have going right here. Let's hit it with a little more salt. And the salt is going to be a good balance because basically when the steak comes out of the marinade, we're going to take the leftover marinade and we're going to bring it to a boil and break that down as well. And that will be a really nice glaze for Dad. So nice hot pan to get that sear, and we'll let that baby go for a minute, okay? Now, let's talk about the butter. I showed you this before. These are great little packs. If you're cooking for a small amount, you don't want to make compound butters. Compound butters are when you take the soft butter, let it sit in the counter, then you add whatever flavors, herbs that you want. This is garlic parmesan. It's going to be perfect for these potatoes that we're not going to quite brown, but we're going to heat up real well, and we're going to toss them in that butter. So by the time we come back, the steak is going to have a nice brown crust. We're going to take the rest of that marinade and we'll bring it to a boil and reduce that down, and we got something good going on for Dad when we come back. Okay, we have one steak that's still marinating. We're going to pan sear another one. Certainly you can use a griddle pan. What else you can do is you can pop this steak in the oven just for about 5 minutes at 450. It's going to really bring it a little, like a broiled crispness to it if you're not cooking outside. Now I want you to see these potatoes. Got a view of that? They smell so good because they have some fresh chives, they have that Parmesan garlic butter that we added, and the red pepper and the onion, and we're just cooking it in the same pot. Little olive oil too is going to blend that all together, give it a really fine flavor. So let's take a look at our iron steak right here, flat iron steak. See how it's starting to sear off, and you can really smell that whiskey. Now over here we are bringing this up to boil, as you can see, and that's the leftover marinade. Now we're going to add a little fun flavor to it. You don't have to do this step, but we do have the recipe for homemade bacon jam from our friends from BurgerFi that were on the Suncoast View. So you can get that recipe if you want to make homemade bacon jam, which is a really great thing for Dad. I make it a lot at home. You can get that recipe right on mysuncoast.com/dining under recipes. Okay, so let's get the potatoes on the plate. Now these leftover potatoes are going to be brilliant for tomorrow, the next day, Monday morning quarterback in the kitchen. You can whip up a frittata for Dad as he heads back to work or to the links. Okay, let's take the steak out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to let it rest, probably for about 10 minutes, because we really want to help that just kind of redistribute the juices. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these Lars crispy onion rings. That's right, Dad. This is going to be so good. And we're going to just kind of crust that right on top. And we're going to start to cut against the grain. And depending on what temperature you want, we're going to do a medium rare to rare. And we're going to just adjust that. Now, once the sauce is done, so we have that really high quality whiskey, and we have a little white balsamic in this, fresh garlic, we're going to drizzle that on the base of the plate so Dad can swirl those potatoes and that steak right in the sauce. We'll be back in just a few minutes for a taste. All right, now we have this beautiful smelling sauce. We have the whiskey that is cooked down with brown sugar and white wine vinegar. And then I added just a little bit of that bacon jam. Now you can also buy bacon jam on the shelves of a fine gourmet store, or actually a lot of markets are carrying it. What we're going to do now is, so we don't get anything too soggy, is we're just going to drizzle this bit of marinade that we brought to a boil because they had the meat juices on, right? And there we have it with the beautiful potatoes. It's going to be so flavorful, and Dad gets second helpings. If you want this recipe, log on to mysuncoast.com, click on recipes, and you'll have valuable information. And remember to enter our gift card contest. You could win a $50 gift card to one of these restaurants that we have as partners on the dining page. So to all the dads out there, enjoy your Father's Day. And remember, you can savor Sarasota. You still have time. I'll send it back to you and get your lunch ready, dads.